Hello, welcome back to WOFOW, Woman of Faith on Wheels. This is Daphne. I know it's been a while. In my absence of, about a week, I've been pretty busy. I spoke in the video before last that I was going to be making dog food with my thermal pot, and I did. I spent a Sunday afternoon and evening making both dog food and chicken and noodles in my thermal pot, of which both turned out really well. The dog food was a little trying, and it's not that I couldn't cook it with a thermal pot. It's I have to find my groove. I have to find my system. What's going to work best and be more efficient. I just felt like I was all over the place, which didn't take much because it is a small space, but I know that I will get a system figured out, worked out, and I'll be doing fabulous in no time, making dog food in a jiffy. As I was making the dog food and the chicken and noodles, we had a storm come raging through, brought a cold front blast to us. So as I was dipping dog food into gallon-sized bags, I was looking out the window at wind raging through and pea-sized hail, and I was like, okay, Cooper, we got this. And once in a while, I'd get my towel and I'd go wipe the condensation off of the windows. And pea-sized hail was as big as it ever got, so I was like, thank you, Lord. Um, but the wind raged on. It raged on for the rest of the night, and I actually got to feel a little foolish. Um, I I have a pine tree on one side and another tree on this side. So, and the pine cones can sound a little bit louder than you would think when they hit the roof. But at one point, and I think it was like around midnight, I actually heard something go thud, and I was like, that didn't sound good. That didn't sound good at all. And so I lay there and I was like, okay, God, it's in your hands. If it has to be fixed, I'll fix it. Yada, yada. Well, my OCD and worry got the best of me. I got to look like a fool. I did bring an 8-foot ladder with me, and I went out in the dark, in the wind, and drug my 8-foot ladder out from under my camper and climbed on it to inspect my roof, which was fabulous, by the way. And I was like, okay, Lord, I hear you. I hear you. I just got to feel like a fool and look like a fool, but all was well. Um, with that being said, March 13th, it was still windy, and it got pretty darn cold. Um, I had to break out my oil radiant heater, which I will slide around and show. There's my oil radiant heater. Pretty doggone happy with that. I broke out the radiant heater, and I broke out the electric blanket. Heat 1 on that oil heater is rated at 600 watts. Heat number 2 setting is rated at 900 watts, and the third setting is like 1200 or 1500 watts. But first setting on it is fabulous. 600 watts. I plug it in after a few hours. I check the extension. I check the cord. I check the outlet. I just make sure nothing's getting hot, and then I feel good about it. I'll set the timer on it. It's got a little remote control even, but I'll set the timer for about 6 hours, right around the time that I would normally be waking up. That way, when I'm getting up, I still have a little bit of warmth, but um, as I'm up moving around and it shuts off, I'm keeping myself warm. With that being said, I checked my current electric usage today. I'm sitting at 86 kilowatts right now. That is 22 days worth of power because I actually didn't roll in here until the second, and it was the evening of the second that I rolled in. So I divided 86 by 22, and I came up with 3.9. That's my usage, 3.9 kilowatts average electric usage a day. That's 3,900 kilowatts. And that is honestly uh, 1/3 of the average of what 1 to 2 people would normally use, like in a household, per day. So I'm doing really good. I'm still falling well within numbers that I wanted to. I'm feeling good about my consumption of energy, that it's not overwhelming. I've only ran the AC twice still. I do have a fan going for when it gets warm in the afternoon, and I move it back and forth. When it's shady on that side, I bring in that cool air. When the sun moves around that way, then I'll bring it over here. And it's working out well. It really is. Um, so I had to bring out both of those. March 13th was the last day that actually it turned into the 14th, thanks to this little story you're going to hear. Um, was the last YouTube video that I had actually shot. It was still cold. It was still breezy. I had the video done well before midnight. But I don't know if it's a mixture of just the signal, the weather with the wind, or my phone, because I think my phone's kind of telling me it's tired of me. It seems to be getting extremely warm more often than it needs to. I'm not sure that it is current enough for me to get a new battery for, so I may be looking at getting a new phone. I'm hoping not. I really don't want to spend that money right now. Um, I'm trying to be frugal with my spending, especially when I'm not earning at the moment. So, but that was interesting because it took over an hour to load the last video. The video that was titled Fear and Anxiety Shall Not Win took over an hour to download. And I felt like the enemy was working on me there, because there was a lot of heartfelt testimony in that video. But I just kept saying, not today. You're not winning this one. I don't care how long I have to stand in my doorway with my head and shoulder and arm and phone outside in the cold. You're not winning today. And he didn't. But that's exactly what I did. There were a few people that drove by and they probably thought that's some crazy lady, but I don't really care, because it was for the glory of God. I said I was going to share my testimony, and I am sharing my testimony, and whatever that takes is what I'm going to do. So I've been doing that. I've been meeting people. I did hear God saying, kind of hard to share your testimony if you're not mingling with people. And about that time, people really made it easy. I met a gentleman named Gary down the road one day. Of course, everybody has fallen in love with my dog, and they see me walk my dog constantly. So it's a good conversation starter. So Gary and Mike were both standing down by Gary's camper one day when I was walking down to check to see if I had some mail at the office. And they said, "Where's your dog?" And I'm like, "Well, he's in the camper. I can't exactly take him in the office." And so it led into conversations. I learned a little bit about Gary. Gary's a hairdresser and a really nice gentleman. He actually took me for a cool Sunday cruise the other day in his convertible. And then Mike has a special place in my heart. He is a Vietnam War veteran. His grandson actually introduced himself to me a few days later. That would be Brody, and then I met his girlfriend Lauren, and they've all been nothing but kind. They actually, Brody and Lauren actually invited me down to some of their family's camper for pulled pork barbecue the other day, but it was a little late and I'd already eaten. But I'm looking forward to getting together with them and just enjoying some company. and some good conversation and some good laughs. They seem like really, really, really fabulous people, and they've been really welcoming to me here, and I feel really, really blessed by that. I'm continuing to try to make my little camper feel more like home and look more like home and be more functional. So I've been working on window treatments. Um, Instead of just everything was like gray and dark and yuck. So I don't know if you'll be able to see that one very well, but I took some material and placed over the valance on that and then hand stitched my own little curtains to go with it. On this side so far I have made that valance. I still have the curtains to get made for that. And then behind me in the bunk area, there's another window that I'm at least going to do the material on the valance. Now on the kitchen one, I kind of cheated. The valance, I left the actual wooden valance thing, if you want to call it wooden. It's like press board and paneling. I left it up there and just tucked the material around so I can take that material down and I can wash it just like I can take this off the curtain rod and wash it. Um, Especially when I'm in areas like this and everything gets dusty. I also, I think I did a short video about this seat cushion back here falling down all the time, so I got that fixed as well. I don't know if you can see it very well, but that's solid, and that came from the valance from above this window. I pulled the I know there was like, I bet there was 300 staples in that thing, and I hand pulled all of them because I wanted to save the vinyl, and I cut that piece of valance down, the front part of it, so that it would fit here, and then I re-stretched the vinyl, and the staples I was able to save. I took my craft hammer and I gently pounded things in there, and voila, another thing fixed. Another thing I'm happy about. I also spent 2 days creating some traveling cards. I'm not going to call them, it's like a precursor for business cards, but I'm not calling them business cards now because I don't have a business started. I do plan to start an e-commerce site um, with this logo, WOFAO, Woman of Faith on Wheels. So this is the little business card or traveling card that I'm handing out. It has my logo on the front. And on the back, it says, "Follow my trials, triumphs, and adventures, both in camping and life, as I trust God's path while sharing His love, one campsite at a time." Then I share my YouTube link, and I also share Psalm 119, 105. "Your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path." So that's like the precursor to what my business cards will be, but I want to be able to have something that they can scan on those should they want to go to my YouTube site or to my e-commerce site. The e-commerce site, it's still in the research stages. I am still looking for what is going to be um, the easiest for me to learn as far as technical things, the most cost effective, yet what also produces the most value for your money. I don't want people to have to spend a lot of money, but I still, with this income, am going to be tithing 10% of it to my Emmaus community, because if it hadn't been for my Emmaus community and Pastor Cardi, I probably wouldn't have grown as strong in my faith and be where I'm at today. Without my faith in God and the true understanding of what a relationship with my Father is about, I couldn't be sitting here today doing this by myself. Wait a minute. I'm not by myself. God is with me always. Um, I've also been busy waging war on fire ants. Now, I was told, I was given good advice. Don't go barefoot in Texas. I forgot that advice the second day I was here, and I walked around to my water faucet to get water in my buckets that I had shown you on a previous video. Lo and behold, and it wasn't really obvious, I stepped on where there was an anthill, and I ended up with like a little blister on the top of my foot, and I was very fortunate that it was only one. So I was like, oh, no more barefoot. But where things got really bad was out my front door. I put my area mat down so that when it rained, we wouldn't have to walk in mud. But lo and behold, it's not really mud. Everything is like sand down here. But the fire ants, took full advantage of that. I shared a short that shows where I used diatomaceous earth all around it because they had formed a metropolis underneath it, and there were little like towns. I'm going to call each one of those hills a little town along the edge of that rug. And then when I flipped up the edge, it's like, so off to Walmart I went. Diatomaceous earth was bought, and a sprayer for my mat for the hose was bought. And I came back and I put Cooper in the camper, and I carefully drug and flipped the mat over, and I washed them all away. And then I spread diatomaceous earth on the ground like there was no tomorrow, and it has worked for days. And it's even rained since then, but they're not coming back and homing under that mat. Win-win. Couldn't be happier. To finish off the week, I had amazing Sunday blessings. Now, the week prior, I had planned to get up and go to church, but because I let the enemy work in my heart, in my mind, and made me worry about all the things that were hitting the top of my camper, I didn't get up early enough to go to church. This last Sunday, I set my alarm. I got up. I went to church. I went to a church 4.8 miles away from me called the Church on the Lake. It is a non-denominational church, and it is purely Jesus Spirit led. It was amazing. I walked in, and everyone I made eye contact with had a smile for me, said hello to me, asked me how I was. Of all the churches I've been in, I've never felt more welcomed than I was in that church on Sunday. I just feel that it was it was a God thing. God drew me there. I know that for a fact. Um, they had a beautiful, they say 30 minutes. I think that's like maybe average, but a praise and worship time. It's not orchestrated that you go through so many songs or that we're all singing this many songs. Um, it was beautiful. It was so beautiful, and people were praising and worshiping God in what manner they felt comfortable. There were people speaking in tongues. So be it. Um, People worshiping with their arms up, kneeling down. I was one of those people. It was it was God really speaking to me, really speaking to me that day. Um, Before the service had even started, the lady that came and sat next to me, um, we introduced ourselves, but I can't remember her name. Her and her husband. But she sat there and she prayed over me. She prayed with me. She prayed over me before service even started, and I was deeply touched. And then, as if that wasn't enough, uh, there was a guest speaker, and that guest speaker's name was Arnie Jacobson. He's a very well-known pastor, speaker, author, mentor. Goes has started many churches up around the country, and he discussed his little sermon was on tithing. Now, who knew anybody could make the subject of tithing a light but heartfelt sermon? This man did. Arnie Jacobson did, and it really hit home with me. Tithing is something that I've not been faithful in doing, and I was very convicted. So once I get to work, back to work, I should say, which is going to be another month. Yeah, 10% off the top. And as I said, when my e-commerce site starts up, 10% off the top, straight to the Emmaus community. Um, I want to, I want to be obedient to God, and I want to do what God expects of me, and I want to help others, and I want to help further God's cause. So those are the things I'm going to be doing. Right now, I'm looking at 8 days out. In 8 days, I'm going to be traveling again. I'm going to miss Texas warm weather. I'm not going to miss Texas dust. I'm not going to miss Texas fire ants. Um, but there are going to be a lot of things that I miss. I'm going to miss a lot of the people here. I encourage you, if you find this interesting, inspiring, encouraging, hit that subscribe button. Share me. Thank you. May you have a wonderful evening, and God bless you.